first, a fragile monarchy. That's how one newspaper is describing the current state of our royal family. Prince Andrew was front and centre of a memorial service yesterday for King Constantine of Greece. There were some obvious absences. King Charles is, of course, receiving cancer treatment. The Princess of Wales is recovering from surgery. But 45 minutes before the event, Prince William also pulled out due to a personal matter. It just seems like it's a really tough time for the whole family at the minute, Katie, isn't it?
Yeah, it's funny because I suppose, you know, thinking about my own family and friends' families, there's always going to be illness and death in people's families, you know, and the royal family aren't exempt from that. But I think us, the public, I've always put them on this pedestal, and now they're becoming less private and they're releasing information like about Kate Middleton's surgery that perhaps, you know, in the past we wouldn't have known when the royals were having surgery. It may seem that they're more fractured and suffering more than ever, but I just think actually this is life, and we're starting to have more access to their life, which leads you to think, is that the right thing or is that the wrong thing? You know, they used to be shrouded in so much mystery before, but
I kind of liked that though, did you? I kind of liked when, because you kind of wanted to know more but you didn't know anything, if you know what I mean. And it gave them that sense of almost like they are different to us, you know what I mean? And they were the monarchy type of thing, and we didn't know anything, and now we know everything, and it feels like they're more like us. And I think that's why now more and more people, especially young people, are going, oh, we don't need them anymore, because they see them like on social media, and like you said, we wouldn't have known about all of these things, probably still if the Queen was alive.
I think it's always been shrouded in mystery, really, and I'm myself a sort of royalist. I love, like, the Queen. And I feel like, do they know how to modernise? Because I think when the Queen passed away, she almost was the glue, wasn't she? She was the glue, and around her things were falling apart. We've heard things that have happened over the past. And then you get to a point where, OK, they've got to be modern, and, you know, you've got Prince William, who one day will be king, and people want to get to know them. But is that too much? Because I like that separation. I like the fact that we in Great Britain have a royal family, and that's why we brought in a lot of tourism and, you know, what it does for our country. But that great title is sort of being diminished because I think we're closing the gap too much. And I just feel like also with that fractured relationships, you're right, we don't get to know about their health issues at all. But the more they're telling us, the more the speculation comes out around, well, what's happening then? Who's falling out with who? Who's iller than they should be? I don't know if we need to know that. You know, because I wouldn't want that out public. Why should we have privy to that as well?
Yeah, you do. Like you say, you start to see them as actually quite a normal family as opposed to a royal one, don't you? Because you do know a bit more about their life, and it goes back to that never complain, never explain, the Queen, the glue, like you just described it, Kelly. But the fractious family thing, it does make you realise they are family. It's exactly that, like the rest of us. And when certain people do maybe pass away, like the Queen did, or there's that one sort of figurehead within any family, sometimes when that glue disappears, the cracks start to appear, and sometimes it can be very, very difficult to bring it all back together.
Yeah, massively. I mean, you know, when my parents passed away, and my mum went later than my dad, and when my mum then finally passed away, the difference in the family dynamic, because it's things like Christmas, for instance, or birthdays, whatever, we would always make sure at Christmas that we were all together, where my mum and dad were, blah, blah, blah. Then we lost both parents, and now we still see each other over Christmas or New Year, but we all have our own Christmases. There's no kind of, well, we've got to look after our own family, because you then become the older generation, you know. So that was really noticeable for me, that when my parents passed away, the whole linchpin of the family was gone, really, even though we all still love each other. Then I had that row with my sisters, which I think would never have continued as long as it did had my parents been around, because it would have broken their hearts. But it is that family thing, and people go, well, you shouldn't because you're family, but you're still humans and you fall out, and sometimes it's harder with family. The only, you know, people used to say to me, blood's thicker than water, and I used to think, well, it is, but in this case it isn't. We've fallen out and we're not talking. But the thing that brought us back together was when we lost Bernie, and that was the first time we all were in the same room, and that was the wake-up call of actually, I love these, you know, I love my family, and life is too short. and we're better than ever. But we had those, like, 3 or 4 years where we didn't speak.
Sometimes it's more hurtful when it is family. That's the whole point, to say the blood's thicker than water. That's what actually really stings sometimes.
Yeah, I think on the other side of that, so on my family, and we were all quite close, really. When my mum passed away, it made us closer, because there's a big divide between me and my younger sister, 19 years. And I can't say we were necessarily, you know, kind of connected. Don't want to say that too much. But
You just did.
I just did.
Different ages,
but yeah, I think
likes and dislikes. You're different people with that age group.
definitely, you know, there is that whole thing of you don't choose your family, but I think in some senses you do, because you're either friends with people within your family as well. I'm quite close to some of my sisters, whereas other people I know have such a divide that, you know, you wouldn't choose to be their mate.
No.
It's just that you're family, you know, so I think there is that different dynamic, and depending on what that is, and actually what's happened in it. You know, there's some really big things that have happened in the royal family, and you can see why the divide is happening. And I think, you know, unfortunately, as going back to that, we're seeing that played out.
They're not that different to the rest of us, really, after all.